Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. Today we're talking all about KJAER WEIS. So KJAER WEIS recently had their friends and family sale, and I picked up quite a few things. I have one of their cream blushes that I've had for quite a while. It's one of my absolute favorite formulas. So, I kind of kept one. I wanted to see how long it would take before it went bad. Honestly, mine's lasted forever. So I decided to go ahead and pick up some more. So we'll talk about that. We got more cream blushes, got a cream highlight or two, I don't remember exactly, lip glosses, eye products. I picked up the new face tint, which, I ordered from the friends and family sale. The face tint or skin tint was released afterwards. So I placed a second order and picked that up along with another lip gloss. So first, let's dig into the haul. This is everything that I have picked up. So this is the newest item from KJAER WEIS. So this is the beautiful tint. I have shade F1, which is the lightest. If you wear lightness in their foundation, this is the recommended match. There are 16 shades in this line. And I have to say, I've already worn this, by the way. So I've already tested that. We'll put this on. We'll talk a little bit more about this. But I really like it. It's actually more coverage than I thought it was going to be. Next, I think these are just the cases. I ordered a bunch of the blushes and I was trying to be good. There were like so many I wanted, but there's only so many you can actually use. With my other blushes, I decided to narrow it down. I forget how many I ended up with. It's still a lot. But yes, so these are the cases. You can purchase a red cardboard packaging as well. It's refillable also. And they recommend, using that, I think, for like 3 refills or so before disposing of it. Or if you want the permanent compact, you have this. You can see it doesn't come with a label on here. You have the KJAER WEIS logo, and this is a swivel. So inside, this is where you will put the actual product, and then you have a mirror on the other side. So I really love the compact. This is heavy, so you're not going to want to carry this around in your bag. If you are looking for something more portable, go with the red cardboard packaging. Or, if you would rather create your own palette, you can do that and not pay for the packaging. So let's take a look at one of the blushes. So this is the shade Abundance. This is how it comes. This is like a cardboard packaging. And I'm just pulling this out here. And you can see there's a little piece of what's it called? Like not wax paper, but parchment paper or something like that. It feels in between wax and parchment. But anyway, this is the shade Abundance, and you can see, oops. Thankfully, I didn't really damage it, just a little bit. But you can see that it does have a magnetic component on the back. Let me just show you that. This is just a Penzies magnet. I use this when I am holding up magnetic pans, so I don't have to hold up a big palette. But if you are interested in creating your own palette, I really like the Salt New York palettes or the Pro palettes. The Adept Cosmetic palettes, the Adept palettes, those are great too. Let me just show you those real quickly. So this here is a Salt New York palette. They do have a smaller size. This is the larger size. But I love this because not only is it luxe, this is like a vegan leather. You have a mirror in here. It's magnetic here. You can keep your products. You still have some space for like a couple brushes or something, but it also like seals very tightly to keep these products fresh. You can see that this little insert here of the mirror fits inside this. So it's sealing it essentially, and it presses down firmly, and then you can zip it shut. So it's going to keep your cream products fresh longer. So this would be my number 1 recommendation if you were to create your own palette, would be using a Salt New York palette. Other options, we have the Adept palette from Adept Cosmetics. This is great if you want to store a lot of things. So you've got magnetic sides on both sides, plus a plastic divider, so you don't have any like fallout or anything contaminating your other sides. There's no mirror on this. They do have other palettes that do have mirrors, but this one is my favorite from them. And then if you're somebody who's looking for a clear case, the Pro palette is great. But again, for a cream product, this, it does click closed and everything, but it's just not as tight of a seal as the Salt New York. So for cream products, I really would recommend something that has just a little bit more of an airtight environment. So I would highly recommend the Salt New York if you don't want to go with KJAER WEIS packaging options. And let me just show you how the blush snaps in. So it's magnetic, you just drop it in and there you go. And it just swivels shut. So you can see that it swivels both directions. So whether you are right or left-handed, it should be easy to use. So I'm just gonna go through and show you how things are packaged depending on what you picked up, but I'm not gonna unbox all of the shades, you know, nobody wants to see that. So this here are, this is one of the lip glosses. So it just comes in a cardboard box. Now these are pretty heavy duty cardboard. You could totally save these if you were gifting something in them, you know, but here is the lip gloss. Again, you can buy a refill for the lip gloss as well. So this here is the full package, and there's no cardboard option for this, but you can either buy this or you can buy a refill for this separately. This one here is the shade Admire. All right, so with my order, I also got a sample of the Beautiful Oil. We'll have to test this out. They do have a few skincare products. So this is the oil. We'll just put a little bit of this on before we use the skin tint today. Let's just add a little bit now so it has time to kind of absorb into the skin. We just put some here so you can see how runny it is. You know, it's an oil. You know, I do smell something. It smells a little herbal, a little floral, but it's a soft scent. It's not very fragrant. It's not something overpowering. Feels nice on the skin. I'm putting this on top of my sunscreen. You can see how it looks on my hand here. And yeah, we're just gonna let that absorb while we finish going through the products. Now, a product I purchased before was the mascara. This is the Impossible, or I like to call it the I'm Possible mascara. I think it's a very nice positive message. I'm not sure which one is their intention because it's I am hyphen possible. So anyway, this is it. I used this up, but I did save this because it's refillable. So I picked up a refill. Let's see how to put that in. All right, so just pulling this back here, and here is our refill. So in here, this is a new brush, new tube. Let me take the old one out and we'll put this in. So I just took a tissue and just pulled this out. Let me throw this away. And I'm using that same tissue here, and let's just pull that out. There we go. All right, so now I have my empty case here, and I can just stick this in. You can see one side is flat and the other side is round. So we'll just match those up. And here we go. Perfect. Also got a sample of the primer. We'll try this on today as well. And then I have a few more cream blushes, a cream eyeshadow, and a highlight. So let's look at these. I just realized I think I forgot to buy a package for the cream eyeshadow. But, oh well, we'll put in something else. This is the shade Ember. And then the highlighter uses the same cases as the blushes. I picked up the shade Radiance, and just having a hard time getting this one out. Let's look at this. Here's Radiance. All right, so that's what I picked up. We'll go through the colors when we go through swatches, but if you decide you want to remove what you have in the compact, you do have a little pinhole here. I usually just use a paper clip and poke through, and it's easy to remove. Oh, I did pick up a case for the eye cream. Yay, I'm so glad I remembered to do that. So the eye cream case, you can see, is more of a half round shape. And let's see, I think this swivels too. Yeah, so this swivels also. Let's just drop that in there. There we go. And you can see that you have not like a true mirror, but it's that metal that is shiny like a mirror so that you can see your reflection. So let's go ahead and do some swatches, and then we will take a look at the products a little bit closer. So this is the one that I've had for a while. I dipped a brush in here, that's why it looks bumpy, but this is Blossoming. This is their best seller. I love this. I think I've had this It's been over 2 years. I'm not sure exactly how long over 2 years, probably maybe only a month or two. So it's been about 2 years. This is blossoming, and you can see that it is this beautiful like peachy shade with a touch of rose in it. So if you're somebody like me with more neutral skin and you don't want a traditional peach, you don't want a traditional pink, this is a great mix. It's pretty, it works well in so many people. This is the shade Abundance that we just opened. So let's check this out. So creamy. And you can see that this one actually has a little bit of plum, a little bit of nude in there, and some dusty rose. This is called Inner Glow. Ooh, that's pretty. You can see this one's gonna be a little bit warmer. This is more of a nude shade with more of a peachy vibe to it. Reverence. This looks like the perfect rosy pink. Yeah, it's kind of what it is. Look at that. That's really pretty. And this one here is Embrace. So if you've been following me for a while, you probably know my top 3 cream blushes. They are the Cle de Peau cream blushes. You can see this is definitely gonna be a milkier true peach shade. So the Cle de Peau, the KJAER Weiss, and the Makeup by Mario cream blushes are my top 3. So, I mean, I had to get more. And this is the highlight in Radiance. So, let's see how this one looks. Let me add a little bit more. Highlights can be a little bit harder to see, but you can see it's definitely going to be subtle. It is a champagne highlighter. So we have Blossoming, Abundance, and then we have Inner Glow, followed by Reverence, then Embrace, and Radiance. Let's take a look at the cream eyeshadow in Ember. So they also have powder eyeshadows. I have not tried those. Ooh, that looks beautiful. Really nice. More of a warm taupe. It's a soft brown / taupe. There's a little touch of gray in there to give you that taupe name, but it's really going to be more brown. And then I have 2 of the glosses. This is the shade Affinity. Let's put that here. Let me get a little more of that. There we go. You can see this one is going to be a warm pink. And then this one here is Admire. And this has like some like purpley tones in it. Let's just get a little bit more of that. Look at that. So this is definitely going to be a cooler rose with a touch of plum in there, a little bit of mauve. And one last product. This is not new, but I picked this up, I want to say last year. This is one of their nude lipsticks in Gracious. If you are looking for a milky nude kind of lipstick, this is a really good shade. For me, it's a little bit too light, a little bit too opaque, and it's a clean beauty lipstick. It's just a little bit too heavy in consistency for me, so I don't love this. But again, the packaging is refillable, so I'm hanging on to it for now. And let me just give you a quick look at the skin tint in shade F1. We're just going to put this right here in between. But you can see it's not super runny. It's actually more like a light foundation. It's a little bit warm. I do wish it was cooler. You can see it's definitely kind of yellowish. Since it's a skin tint, it has some flexibility, so it will work for me. But I do wish it was a little bit cooler in tone than it is. But you can see even on my hand that it has a little bit more coverage than a traditional skin tint. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna take a closer look at these products and talk about these in detail. All right, so we're gonna start off with our sample of the Beautiful Primer. So again, I put the Beautiful oil on my skin first, and reading the directions that come with the sample, it does say to put the oil on and then use the primer. So we're gonna test this out. So just pulling this open here. And here's the primer. You can see it is more of an ivory shade. Texture feels like a light lotion serum. I can't really smell too much of a scent. There is a little bit of one, but it's it's really hard to tell whether it's the oil or the primer that I'm smelling. Let me put some on my fingers again. Yeah, so there's a little bit of scent, and it's very faint. You don't really notice it so much in the primer, but this exact same fragrance, if you've tried this is what the skin tint smells like to me. So the skin tint does have a fragrance. So I'm actually going to use the swatch here on my hands with the skin tint and tap a little bit of this under my eyes first. So it's just, I'm going to let that sit for a second while I put on some eye primer. Going in with my Viseart Seamless Eye Primer. This tube is just about out, so just put a little bit on my fingers and rub that on. This is a silicone-based primer, but I think it works really well. All right, so I'm going to take the Sonia G Soft Concealer Brush and just kind of spread that out. And the reason I let that sit is it does allow the product to dry out a little bit, making it a little bit thicker and more concentrated like a traditional concealer. So you can see that added a little bit of coverage. Just gonna stamp over it with my finger. All right, so I don't have a ton of space here, so I'm just gonna try to go on top of this, and I'm gonna use the Kyoto F04. And as I mentioned, I have already worn this, and I really like this tint because it gives a little bit more coverage than a traditional tint, yet it is thin, lightweight on the skin. As I mentioned, there is a fragrance. It does seem to be the same fragrance in the primer, which is similar to that in the Beautiful Oil, but the Beautiful Oil is maybe a little bit more floral than this. So this has, again, it's a little bit floral and a little bit almost like fruits and florals mixed together. And you know how a lot of like clean beauty or natural makeup, you can smell some of the natural components that they use. I feel like I can smell a little bit of that down in the base, but really I'm smelling more of this, like whatever fragrance it is that they use. So you could see with one layer that was enough, but I can add a little bit more on here. Because this is a little bit thicker than most skin tints, you do need to work quickly. It does dry fairly quickly on your skin. So you can see if you're not careful, you know, you have to really blend out the pigment. If you let it dry too fast, that can be a little bit more, well, it's not like it's hard. It's just, you need to watch it. So this is it. You can see you get this, you know, dewy, glowy sheen to it. The oil, I'm sure, pronounces that a little bit. So does the primer. However, this is still approximately what it looks like on the skin. If you want to know what it looks like on my skin without anything on it with the Surratt primer underneath, my previous video has that. That's the one with the Bobbi Brown eyeshadows and the Chanel nail polishes. So I will leave that linked down below, but I'm wearing the beautiful, what they call it, the beautiful skin or the beautiful tint in that video. So I'm going to mix a couple of the blush shades on my cheeks. We're going to start off with Abundance, actually. So we're going to take Abundance on my swatches. That's this one here. I'm using the Sonia G Classic Base. So I'm just going to get a little bit of product on here. Just stamped it onto my cloth, and I'm going to put that back here closer to my hairline here. You can really see those more mauvey tones come out on my skin, on my face, compared to on my arm, I think. I think it looks a little bit more mauve. But you can see how easily and effortlessly these go on, whether you use a brush, your fingers, or a sponge. They're just a beautiful formula. And then I'm going to take Reverence and put that more in the front here. So there's the blush. I mean, this formula is just incredible. It's smooth, it's creamy, easy to use, lasts for me, pretty much all day, and it's just stunning. And you can get the sheen and shine without glitter. I'm just gonna use my fingers with the highlight and just tap a little bit of this on here. Really very beautiful. We'll probably use this in the inner corner of my eyes as well, but let's move on to the eyeshadow. So I have the Sonia G Worker 3, and just for reference, all of these items are organic, they're made in Italy, and these cream products have a 12-month 12-month lifespan after opening, so PAO. And we're gonna start off with the brush application here, and then we'll also try a finger on the other eye. And the actual size of these, the cream blushes and highlighter are 3 milliliters, whereas the eyeshadow is 1.4. So here it is softly with a brush. Let's see if we can layer on a little bit more of that. Let's do a little dabbing. So there's that. Let's try the finger. I feel like the finger application does deposit more, a little bit more easily, but you can build them both up. I think I like the finger application better though. I think this looks a little bit better. Oh, you can see some of that tint here. And by the way, they do have a brow gel, but I didn't pick it up because I didn't really see a color I thought would work well for me. So, they had some nice like deeper shades, but for lighter hair, they were all on the warmer side. I'm just gonna take this brush and no additional product, but just gonna kind of buff that in the crease a little bit. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the highlighter. This is the Esom V31. Just gonna get a little bit on here and add it right in the inner corner. Do you see a difference or not really? So just gonna drag a little bit of the highlight just under the eye here as well. Let's get a little more there. And then I'm gonna go in with a little bit of Ember on the outer portion as well. So this cream shadow, I think it feels very similar to the blushes, slightly less creamy than the blushes. It feels nice going on. I will give you an update as to how it performs, but it feels creamy and comfortable on the eyes. So no complaints so far with that. You can see this particular shade at least is a lighter look. So I'm taking the Victoria Beckham Satin Cudgel in bronze. I'm just gonna put this right up against the lashes here. I'm just using that Esom brush to kind of smudge that out a little bit. For brows, I'm just going in with the Surratt Expressioniste Brow Gel in light brown. And then let's go ahead and use the I'm Possible mascara here. So always nice starting a new tube. You can see this is volumizing, and I just think it's a really nice formula. I really like it. And one of the things when I went through this tube, obviously I like it enough to repurchase, but one of the things I liked about it as the tube started getting older it still wasn't like flaking and stuff like some mascaras do as they start drying up. So I was really able to use the whole tube without having any issues with it. I think it's a really nice volumizing mascara. And next, I'm taking the Givenchy lip liner in number 8, Parma Silhouette. I'm going to put that on. This is one of my all-time favorite lip liners. Now, you may have noticed I used the side of the pencil, so it gives you a softer, little bit more smudged look, which I like better with lip glosses. I think with the gloss, we're gonna go in with the shade Admire today. So that is a light layer. Again, this is gonna have the same fragrance as the other products, but this one smells a little less fruity, a little more herbal to me. So here's Admire. All right, so now on to my final thoughts. And again, I will have wear updates pinned up here at the top of the screen. So if you're not looking at your screen, you're just listening, definitely take a look if you're interested in the wear updates on here. But overall, you know, I have to say I really like these products. I think KJAER WEIS is a great brand. I don't think they get talked about enough. And I think part of the reason for that is that they don't have a ton of launches. Not like Dior and Chanel and so forth, which are also bigger brands, but you know, they're releasing something every few months, something big, and usually multiple items. Whereas KJAER WEIS is a little bit more thoughtful about the products that they release. They're a smaller brand, so obviously it's going to be more work for them to release one product than it would be for Chanel to release a product. They have fewer people working on it and so forth, and the design process, you know, is going to take a little bit longer as well. So Kirsten, who is the founder of KJAER WEIS, she is a makeup artist. She designed this. It is all organic. I think it is an absolutely wonderful line. The cream blushes, as I mentioned, I've been wearing Blossoming for 2 years and it is still one of my favorite formulas. These others shades I picked up, they all feel exactly the same way that Blossoming does on the skin. I have no doubt that the performance of those will be the same as with Blossoming. The highlight feels very similar to the cheek blushes as well. However, it does feel a little bit less smooth. So what I mean by that is the cream blushes don't have any shimmer or anything in them. It's a very, very smooth, finely milled product. The highlighter, super finely milled as well, but there is a little bit of shimmer, not glitter, but a little bit of radiance that you get with that. And you can just feel that that has changed the formula slightly. So just something to note with that. I don't think most people would really notice much of a difference with those, to be honest. So it's a little nitpicky, and it's not a complaint. So moving on to the cream eyeshadow, I really like the way that went on. So I will definitely let you know how it wears and performs throughout the day. But the comfort level on my lips or on my eyes is really nice. And I love this shade. This is a really great everyday shade. I could see this being something that I just throw on quickly during the summer when I only have like 5 minutes for makeup. Now, as for the cream eyeshadow in Ember, I have to say I really like the color a lot. And I'm actually coming back in to add in this information, but within an hour, I started to see some faint creasing. I tapped it out, but I did get some additional creasing there. So I think the product's just a little bit too emollient for my eyes, even though I did use a primer on the base. So it's really beautiful, but if you have oily lids, I wouldn't recommend it. And yeah, so I think overall, I would probably pass on the cream eyeshadows, but everything else that I picked up here was a win. And yeah, let me know what you think. The beautiful tint, you know, as I mentioned, this is not the first time I'm wearing it. I can already tell you that it holds up all day. I think it is a great formula. I love the glowy look you can get with this. And really, to me, instead of being a skin tint, it's really more of a lightweight foundation because it does give you more coverage than at least what I typically think of with a skin tint. Definitely more than a tinted moisturizer. It's a little bit thicker in formulation, a little bit more pigmented. As I mentioned, I do wish the shades had, I wish this shade was a little bit cooler. So I wish they had something slightly lighter and cooler than it is in the neutral spectrum. This is a little warm. They do have 16 shades in the line, and because it is a more flexible formula, since it is not full coverage, there is a little leeway with the colors, which is why the F1 works for me. And again, if you match with the cream foundation that they have in lightness, this is the recommended shade. So I really like it. There is that fragrance that I noted, and that is present in pretty much all of the KJAER WEIS items. They all have some sort of fragrance, and it's all like different levels of the same scent, essentially. So I think it's probably the same fragrance and everything, but it might have a slightly different scent to your nose depending on what other ingredients, what they smell like in those particular products. But essentially, they all smell the same. The skin tint, I have noticed that, as I'm wearing it, even like hours later, if I get a breeze or something on my skin, then I can smell it again. So just wearing it normally, I don't really notice it after a few minutes. But anytime like a fan blows on me or something causes the air in front of me to kind of move, then I do smell that fragrance briefly again. So just something to note there if that's something that you really don't like. As I mentioned, everything's organic and made in Italy with a 12-month PAO, which means period after opening. So once you open it, you have 12 months to use it up. If you leave it sealed, obviously that doesn't start until you open it. Now, I have had some questions. How do you know PAO? So when you have the little month or years in the little like cosmetic case on a box, that's going to tell you your PAO. And that's why it has kind of the open lid. So you can see how the lid here looks like it's a jar. That means it's a period after opening. Some products like sunscreen, it's going to have a specific expiration date. That's because those particular ingredients will start to degrade over time. Whereas in a product that you leave unopened, you're not having an issue with degradation. However, just a note, expiration dates, PAOs, all of those things are estimations. They are not a hard, fast rule. So just because you've had something for 12 months, if it still seems good, you don't notice any like mysterious growth or strange scent or the texture hasn't changed, it's still good. It should still be good. I don't want to guarantee anything there, but these are all estimates, just like expiration dates on products. They are estimates and they are usually conservative estimates. So, if something expires, you typically have an extra 6 months after the expiration date to use it up before you actually experience degradation. So even with a PAO, you do have a little leeway there. So I hope that is helpful. I have to say my blossoming blush is still going strong and I have no intention of getting rid of it because the texture hasn't changed, the smell has not changed, performance hasn't changed. I just wore it again the other day and absolutely no issues with it. So I'm keeping it until it goes bad. In my opinion, you spend a lot of money on the makeup, you might as well keep it as long as you can, provided it is safe to use. I don't want to advise anybody to keep something longer than is safe. These are just the guidelines that I'm following based on what I know about the actual process of creating these estimates. As for the lip gloss, it is not sticky. It's comfortable on the lips. It does give you a shiny finish to your lips, very comfortable, easy to apply, and yeah, I have to say I like it. So I am definitely looking forward to trying the other shade, and I think this is a really nice product to have. The mascara, as I mentioned, I love the mascara. This is my second tube of it, so I would pick that up again as well. As for the beautiful primer and the beautiful oil, they both seem like nice products. I will have to play with the samples more to see how much I like those, but you know, first impressions, the primer is not going to beat my favorite Surratt Perfectioniste primer. That's still going to be my number one. So I hope this was helpful. I'd love to know what you've tried from KJAER WEIS, what your experience has been, and let me know what you think. And if you've tried the beautiful tint or you're planning on it, I would really love to know your thoughts. I think this is really nice. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you very soon.